Hello everyone. In this lesson, I will introduce the Operation Orchestration service of Alibaba Cloud. This lesson mainly introduces Operation Orchestration. The course consists of 3 parts. The first is to give a general introduction to the Operation Orchestration. What is the Operation Orchestration and what advantages it has? The second is a simple example, which is also an entry-level introduction. The third part is the introduction of operation and maintenance, which are all entry-level. The first part is the overview of Operation Orchestration. Operation Orchestration Service, abbreviated as OOS, it is an automated operation and maintenance service provided by Alibaba Cloud. Operation and maintenance are to monitor the daily maintenance and operation process of our server, business, and database or the related operation. Usually, the operation and maintenance are carried out by the relevant personnel, such as logging in to read the log and warning. Then the operation and orchestration service provided by Alibaba Cloud can automatically run the operation and maintenance services, manage and perform tasks. We can customize and arrange these tasks by ourselves. We can set the tasks we want to execute, the order of execution, and what we need to input and output in the process of execution through templates. Finally, through the template, it can automatically run regularly. Through the OOS, we can manage products, a number of products on Alibaba Cloud, including ECS, RDS, SLB, VPC, etc. Execution mode. OOS supports multiple execution modes. One is automation. That is, after the template is completed, it will run automatically. For example, regularly every day, or regularly every week at what time. Automatic or semi-automatic. Another is an interactive mechanism, which is similar to an approval mechanism. That is to say, your operation and maintenance may have some risks. When it runs, it will need approval or confirmation. The operation and maintenance can be carried out interactively. In general, there are 3 steps. If we want to make an operation orchestration, the first is to build a template, which is equivalent to an introduction sequence. A template is a set of instructions or functions, which can be easily understood. A specific function or method in the template is execution, which creates the process we execute. After the specific implementation, there are relevant output and implementation results. The results may be log statistics or alarm statistics. What are the benefits of using our Alibaba Cloud OOS? There are many lists here. Number 1 is the visualized execution process and results. Later, we can go to Alibaba Cloud's OOS and have a look at its web page. You will find that it has a lot of visual content, such as charts, some update feedback, so it is a better intuitive way to see the maintenance process and results of OOS. Number 2. So far, Alibaba Cloud's OOS is a free and fully managed service. Fully managed is to put the execution template we created on Alibaba Cloud, which can be executed automatically. Number 3. Efficient batch management. We have made so many templates that our execution can be batch processed efficiently. Number 4 is a superior authentication and verification system. Alibaba Cloud's OOS has considered some processes of authentication audit. If we run the relevant operation and maintenance, we need to consider the authentication, whether you have the operation authority. For example, when some services are shut down, they can only be operated by people with certain permissions, which requires authentication. Some processes need to be approved, so the approval function is needed. Number 5 is the easy-to-use templates. In our OOS, we have defined some common templates, which can be modified when we use them. You can use it directly, or you can modify, add, delete on the shell to build your own templates quickly. Number 6 is cross-region or multi-region operation and maintenance capability. For example, some machines are located somewhere in Asia, and some machines are located somewhere in Europe. Then, cross-regional operation and maintenance are needed. When the machines in Asia start up and start a certain business service, the machines in Europe are later than them, or some collaboration between machines required. Cross-regional operation and maintenance can be carried out at this time. Number 7 is standardized operation and maintenance services. In our OOS, there are standardized commands and standardized execution processes, which are quite useful for us to do the standardized operation and maintenance services. Number 8 is the coverage of operation and maintenance authority, which is delegation authorization. For example, permission management has been considered in OOS. The related delegation authorization and role assignment of authority have been considered as well. I've said so many benefits. What can we do with OOS and what is the application scenario? One is the operation and maintenance of event-driven class. Event-driven, for example, what operation is required to be done when an alarm is given. Access region operation maintenance, while multi-region is similar. The servers or databases are in a place and other servers are in another place. At this time, it is quite advantageous to use OOS to implement cross-regional operation and maintenance. There are some important concepts in OOS. The first is the template. The template is to put some tasks to be operated and some useful descriptions to be executed, what to do, what to input, and what to output. Generally speaking, files or documents have two formats. One is YAML format, another is JSON format. I wonder if you know anything about a YAML format. It describes the relationship between specific attributes and data by indentation. YAML and JSON are two different ways to describe events. JSON is equivalent to the way of JSON object, which is similar to XML. It is key and a value to describe a key and its attributes. We use this kind of document to describe what we do, what we need to input, and what we need to output, and describe the related properties clearly through this kind of document. The background performs the related operation and maintenance through the template. The second is the task. There are one or more tasks in a template. The task is specific, with the details of an action. Each task is the concrete realization of action. The third concept is action. Action defines a specific operation, such as shutting down a service, starting a service, or shutting down and starting a server. Specific actions are standardized. OOS defines all the types of every action and all the operations of every type. The next concept is task execution. After you have finished the template and submitted it to OOS, the task execution will be executed according to the requirements, and there will be certain output results after the execution. The last one is the loop task. Some tasks need to be operated iteratively. They may not be finished after execution. They may be triggered by certain conditions regularly. This page describes some requirements or limitations of the OOS template. First, the size of a single template file is 64 gigabytes. Because the template file is a text file, it is not like Word or other files. It may be several megabytes of all kinds of things together. 64 gigabyte is actually a very large size. And the task of scheduling 64 gigabytes can do a lot of operations. The number of templates that a single account can create is 200. OOS is a platform for you to log in with your own account and log on to OOS to show it later. It's a platform for web pages. You can see it when you log in with your account. Now it's free, and each account can create 200 templates. The number of concurrent executions for each account is 100 because it is free. In the future, for the sake of business, the authority may be extended after charging. Anyway, now each account can execute 100 actions, and the total number of actions that each account can execute every day is 50,000. These requirements may be enough for small companies, but they may not be enough for large companies. Therefore, from this point of view, after commercialization, these limitations may be relaxed through charging. The number of tasks in a single template is 100, as mentioned earlier. There are templates, tasks, and execution in terms. This limits the maximum number of tasks in a template to 100. The maximum number of iterations for a loop task in a template is 1000. The maximum number of entries that can be retrieved when automation is enabled for one action is 1000. This page is about the steps of creating OOS. The first is to create a template. Second is to create an execution. I have a screenshot. Let's open the OOS page. This is my home page after I log into Alibaba Cloud's OOS. Let's take a look at the public templates. There are so many public templates, including SLB and ECS, which can do OOS, as well as image management in security, as mentioned earlier. The triggering of alarms and events has been mentioned before too. Let's take a look first. There are templates and execution. This is my template. Here is the template I operated before. Let's see how to create a template. Click Create Template. Enter the name of the template. Input the configuration of the template. The JSON and YAML files can be put here. We can see that if you configure a template by JSON file, it is like this. They are format version number, description, and a parameter. The parameter has a type. This is the operation for ECS. I purchased ECS from Alibaba Cloud from my own account, so it shows the operation of ECS. Here, it describes the operation target, as well as the related content, such as control type. The same operation can be configured by either JSON format or YAML format. The name of the template and other things. Here are the templates, tasks in templates, and actions in tasks. The steps of the task are like this. We can choose the task according to the type and set the name of this task. You can name the task as your own requirements. As I mentioned just now, there are so many tasks to choose. Meanwhile, you can create your own tasks for ECS, as well as RDS, API, and trigger. At the same time, some input and output can be set for these tasks. Input can have a filter. Take a look at the one I did before. This is what I did before. The name is just a random one with the version number here. This is the template description and creation time. I just created a new one. Here is the property to indicate that this is to operate ECS, and select a parameter for status. This is how to simply create a custom template. This screenshot is the result of my previous OOS operation with the input of some data. Next, let me talk about create execution. Let's go back to the page. Execution is created here. Let's look at the screenshot again. The execution is created here. We just mentioned that after the template is created, there will be execution in the template. In fact, it is the same as creating the execution directly here. Except that just now I jump here through the template page. In this way, the execution and template are linked. You can create an execution on the execution page. You will have to link the execution to a specific template. I just create an execution, and then came here. What is the description of the execution? Then, continue writing. The linked template is what I just created. The linked template is in my template. The specific template name is this, and the version number is this. Specify the execution mode is automatic or manual. This is the whole process of creating execution. Enter a status string here. I put a random name and then click Create. Now the creation is done. Right now, many parameters are not configured properly. It will fail if I run it, so I will delete it. Now let's talk about templates. OOS uses templates to define operation and maintenance that requires orchestration. The template content uses the YAML and JSON format. The templates are divided into public templates and custom templates, as I have just demoed. They are operated in my templates and are custom templates. Alibaba Cloud OOS provides public templates for you to use and reference conveniently. As you can see in the demonstration just now, after entering my template, there are so many public templates available. Some templates, such as those related to images, have already been made, so you can use them directly. Let's pick up one randomly. Here's the name, description, and creation time of the template. This is to delete payment instances. Let's look at another template. This is an event-triggered template. In terms of template syntax, for YAML and JSON files, there are several parts. One is a format version. Generally, when we operate, this one has been filled in. It has certain rules. The description refers to the functions that you want to do. It's mainly for other people to understand what it is. Sometimes, you may forget the usage after a while. Then you can check it through this. Parameters. Parameters are also optional because some template execution does not need parameters. This depends on your requirements. The next one is RAM row. Executing OOS will play this row to call the API of each cloud product. The default row is OOS service row.tasks. Tasks are required in the template. Each task is a specific operation. As mentioned earlier, there is a limit to the number of functions in each task. By default, multiple tasks are executed one by one. The output is also optional, because sometimes the operation may have no output. The YAM format may not look very clear because it is indented, but the JSON format is relatively simpler. It is the key value format. The attributes and related values are very clear. Moreover, it uses braces to represent objects and brackets to represent arrays, which are quite common. Let's talk about the syntax or concept of templates. Some concepts have been mentioned before. One is the parameter. As we saw earlier, the parameter is provided through the parameter object. Then there are rows. access control roles, just like RAM role. The default is in this way, because sometimes tasks may need permission control. As I said earlier, OOS has permission control operations. At this time, we need to do corresponding RAM role control. Task, output, built-in function. The built-in functions are just like any programming language. They have some interval methods to use, such as service startup and service shutdown. Next, we talk about the execution overview. The execution mode is a little different from the template or OOS. Automation execution, which is easy to understand, means that all tasks defined in the template are executed automatically in turn. There is also a single-step execution. When creating an execution, there is an option in the execution mode. Automatic execution, manual execution, or execution with risk confirmation. Risk operation refers to some irrecoverable operations in the process of execution, i.e. deletion. For example, if some data is deleted from the database, it cannot be restored after the operation. Or delete a file in Linux, which is not recoverable. Execution will be switched to wait, and the next step can be only executed after corresponding approval is confirmed. Manual operation is a step-by-step operation, which is mainly used in the process of debugging. Here is a reminder that high-risk operations need a secondary confirmation, which is also for safety reasons. When operation and maintenance task cannot be cancelled, such as deleting a cloud server or ECS instance, it must be confirmed again. In case of mail operation, the loss will be huge. Let's talk about the action. Actions, as I have said before, are built-in operations. It can be divided into several categories. Since there are a lot of actions, I just list a part of them. For example, API actions belong to the interface category. Action name, for example, we can open API action. Another is to call to view the status of the resource. Embedding actions. A template can be used as an action. What does embedding actions mean? You can embed one template as an action to another template. In this way, the templates can be used as a combination. Here are the trigger actions. Time trigger is to perform O&M operations at scheduled time points. When event trigger is to automatically perform event-driven O&M operations. Next are control actions, such as notify, approve, etc. These actions will be executed according to the condition. Actions will wait until the condition is met. Here are two simple examples of standard templates. The first one is the temporarily bandwidth upgrade. For example, our company may provide much more users on holiday. At this time, we need to temporarily increase the bandwidth of our server. After the holiday, the bandwidth will be reduced to save the cost. The second example is batch instance operations. I've made the screenshots of the two examples. Let's take a look. This is a public operation. Just now I mentioned a template for batch instance operations. What we need to do is actually to add the corresponding commands we want to do. This is a template. Let's look at the example of a temporary bandwidth upgrade. What we need to do is to specify the time. Is it on a certain way or every day? When to start? When to end? The execution duration? And the maximum internet outbound bandwidth. Complete these settings. That is the process of this example. Here, this is a standard template provided by Alibaba. At that time, you just need to click Create to attach it to your server. The following example is about alert and event. Alert and event are also standard templates that are already ready to use for you. Let me create one and choose the trigger type, threshold alert or system event, and choose the product ECS or ADB. The event name, for example, the state of our ECS instance has changed. We have such events to choose. Region as my server is in Hangzhou, China. I choose this. As I introduced before, we could do cross-region O&M, but I only have this one now. It's meaningless to choose other regions. The event severity is classified into information, critical, and warning. After selecting the severity level, we will find what templates can be selected. These are the standard templates. For example, when something happens, we need to update the image. If there is an alarm, the image may be outdated. We need to update the image due to this event trigger. Of course, we can also choose our own template. Now I'll configure it and do what I define. If some templates need to configure parameters, just choose one. Here we have no parameters. There are some additional configurations. This is the operation of a template for orders and events. Let's talk about the development of OOS, which is more difficult than the operations on the web page. So here is just a brief introduction. OOS has a Python SDK. We need to create the key and secret in OOS. Download the SDK through pip install. We can verify the installation after downloading. Import it, check the version, and then do the related operations. Here's an example of creating a template. The final result is the same as the step-by-step operation on the web page, but it is executed by code. A lot of content is here. We can take a closer look. Here are some familiar things, such as format version and description. Isn't this a JSON template? In fact, it is. We can write relevant things in it. Then, after creating the relevant files or contents with Python statements, pass them to the background through the SDK to create the template. The general idea is like this. In addition to using Python, there is also a way to use the CLI. After logging in CLI, you can create a template. It is a kind of remote login, which is equivalent to the Docker interface. Login to operate. This method is even more inconvenient. Python code at least looks a little bit familiar. However, this is rarely used. Anyway, it provides a means for you by accessing the CLI interface. Similar to the console interface, if you want to create a template, use this command, aliyun OOS create template to create a template. Specify the region, the name, and the location. For example, it is in my template, and specify the content. You can use this command to start the execution. This is the lesson about Alibaba Cloud OOS. Thank you.